Zabbies! So Ezra is about 5 months old now, and we've gotten into the hang of cloth diapering, so I figured just to record for ourselves so that we have a reference point for future babies, or if anyone has any questions, we can always just pass along this video to them.
Hey, bud.
You'll just hear Ezra in the background. He's just playing. Yeah, he's trying to crawl. Before Ezra was born, we knew that we wanted to cloth diaper just because it was more environmentally friendly and it suited our lifestyle. And we had done a lot of research, but there was a lot of information that we had to dig further into to find just so we knew that it was the right decision for us, such as does it actually save you money? How do we clean them? What types of diapers should we buy? So we figured that we would answer some top questions that we had when we were researching for cloth diapers. I invited Sean to answer some of the questions because he actually does all of the laundry, and I'm just here to facilitate the questions, and we figured we'd do it interview style just so that it could help answer the questions that we had. So the first question that I mainly had was, how much money do you actually save? I'll answer this. I'll also leave a link to the blog post where you can find the breakdown of the cost of cloth diapering versus the traditional disposables, but I'll explain to you the breakdown of the different areas that I looked at to understand what the cost savings was actually in the end. Firstly, there are different types of cloth diapers. For the purpose of the calculations, I'm just going to talk to the pocket diapers, and we'll get into the details of the other types of diapers later on. But for pocket diapers, I had calculated based off of how many disposable diapers you would need for a lifetime per baby, all the way up until about 3 years of age. And I have it broken down per age group per month, how many diapers they would need approximately.
Bless you, bud.
In total, per child, it's about 5,000 diapers that you would go through, which results in about $1,200. Which doesn't sound like a lot because $1,200 is very small, but in the grand scheme of things, 5,000 diapers going to the landfill is quite a lot of waste, especially since these diapers don't biodegrade, they don't break down. There might actually be harmful chemicals leaching into your baby because they're sitting in it for a few hours at a time, especially if they're sitting in it overnight. So just overall, for us, this wasn't a very attractive option. And then when comparing that to the reusable diapers, specifically the pocket diapers and then any inserts that we need, it actually came to under $350. This, of course, doesn't include any wear and tear or the cost of detergent and your hydro bill, but in general, it is much cheaper. You're saving probably about 70% of the cost. And you can even stretch out that cost further if you're going to have multiple children, because these cloth diapers can be used for multiple years and generations. You can actually stretch your dollar even further if you're going to be going through the second-hand route, which for me, it was very overwhelming to have to research that and then research other things and then prepare for the baby in general. But I think if, let's say, you wanted to start off with a 12-pack and then purchase secondhand as you went along, then you can really stretch your money further. But luckily for us, we had a lot of great friends. We had a lot of great friends and family who actually purchased it off of our gift registry for us, so we actually didn't have to spend any money at all, which was great. The next question that we had was, what kind of reusable diaper should we use? There are pocket diapers, prefolds, flats. I know when I was a baby, I think my mom used, I think they're called prefolds. It was basically just the sheet and then you fold it and then wrap it around the baby with safety pins. But for us, when researching, pocket diapers was the easiest because it looks like this. It's literally just the diaper. And then the reason why it's called pocket is because there's a pocket at the back where you put the insert. All we have to do is put the insert in and then put this on Ezra and then lock it in, and then he's good to go. So this was a very convenient option for us. This, I think, based off of my research, it was the most expensive, and there are cheaper avenues to go. But again, if you have the time to research, definitely do that. But for us, this was the easiest route, and we do know that we're going to be having multiple children, so this is something that we can reuse over and over again. When researching, a lot of people also recommended that we should purchase from different brands because they could fit your baby differently. And we do have 3 brands. We have Alva Baby, which I think is the most popular. We have Kawaii Baby, which is more economical. And then we have Mama Koala. Sean, since you do the changing of the diapers and all of the laundry, Which one would you recommend, and what were the pros and cons that you found for each?
Yeah, so in last place is definitely Mama Koala. The way that the actual buttons are connected to the baby is not great, in my opinion, and it actually caused a lot of leaking. There's a lot of lax in the actual insert portion, and as a result, we thought we would use it at night, but it didn't help at all. And so during the day, it's not great either. It's just really not something that I would wholeheartedly recommend. Then we have which one is this, Jess?
Kawaii.
Then we have Kawaii, which was kind of middle. It kind of emulates the higher quality in terms of the buttons. You can see here that the way that the reusable diapers work, there are a number of different buttons. It looks very confusing at first, but it's actually fairly straightforward. And as a diaper, this is great. It comes down to aesthetic, and these diapers look good, but not great. So this is why this is kind of the middle ranking. And then top was Alva Baby. And the reason for that, again, it comes down to aesthetic. These look really cute. They're kind of gender neutral, which is nice. The actual pocket portion is nice too, because it looks like there's a little bit of an elastic surface there. So you could double up at night and it doesn't leak. You can single up during the day and it's not an issue at all. So this is definitely the top tier. I think it comes down to personal preference at that point in terms of look, in terms of price. So those are my rankings personally based on this guy's loads in the diapers.
When preparing the nursery for the amount of diapers that we needed, the main question we had was, how many diapers do we really need? So, Sean?
That's a great question. It depends is kind of the honest answer. The approach that we had taken was for newborns, we kind of assumed it would be about 12 diaper changes a day. That's on the conservative end. Sometimes they need less, sometimes they need more. So the way that I built a rotation out was that we would use 12 on one day, they would be on, so we would be wearing them. 12 as an off day, so those would be in the laundry being cleaned, and then 12 as a reserve. So that would come to 36, 38 diapers that we would need for like a 3-day rotation. As well, as he gets a little bit older, he'll need less diapers too. But the honest answer is 38 to be safe, or 40 just to be safe in the short term.
That's great in terms of the pocket diapers, the pocket piece itself. What we actually learned was that you actually need more inserts depending on how often you want to change overnight. So how many inserts did we actually end up needing?
For the day, 1 per diaper change. That would be about 12. At night, this is kind of experimentation. There are different types of liners. 2 probably, right? And there are different types. So I'm going to defer to Jess just because she knows the technical specifications of these liners, but I'll show you guys and I'll give you my experiences on them.
So this is microfiber. It's typically by default what comes with the pocket liners if you're going to be buying the pocket diapers. And the microfiber liners do absorb quickly, however they also wear out very quickly.
They're just not great. They're very entry level in terms of their ability to absorb liquid. Overnight, we've found that they just don't retain liquid quite as well, and when we do loads, it takes forever for them to dry. So I actually just leave them to air dry. It ends up taking upwards to 12, 14 hours sometimes. So again, not for us, but you know, if that's something that you don't necessarily care about too much, then it's probably more of an economical option, which is great.
The next we have bamboo. Bamboo is also very absorbent, however it also retains the quality much longer. And the bamboo liners that we got, I think 5 or 7 layers within it, so it does absorb quite a lot, and we don't experience any leaks, or fewer leaks.
The biggest thing for those is just that they're kind of fibrous, and so when I'm washing them, they dry very quickly. Almost immediately after being washed, they're already dry. They just don't have that sogginess when they're retaining liquid as well. So again, personal preference, but those are definitely on top for us during the day.
And then the last one we have is the charcoal bamboo. The reason why I wanted to purchase the charcoal bamboo was because I knew we were going to be filling the pocket diapers overnight, which meant that he was going to be sitting in it longer, maybe like 6 hours at a time. And what's great about the charcoal is that they're naturally antifungal, which is great, and antibacterial, so I knew that it was going to be safe for him to be sitting in it for long periods of time.
Initially, we just did one of these bad boys per, 4 to 6 hours between his diaper changes. We found that as he's gotten a bit older, he's about 5 months now, he needs the second liner as well. So that would be our recommendation, is to start to double up at the 4 or 5 month period as he starts to gain weight. And starts to pee more during the night. But overall, very, very pleased with these diapers. When they're drying, again, it dries very quickly. So from a laundry perspective, very pleased overall with the quality of the product.
One of the main questions that we also had when researching that we didn't realize was that you can actually get newborn fitted diapers versus just the regular diapers. I do know that the regular diapers can accommodate babies as small as 8 pounds. I know it is impossible to know how much your baby's going to weigh when they're born, but there are ways that you can fold the pocket diapers to make it fit a newborn.
The way that the diapers work, so there are 4 lining buttons here. You have the primary one that sticks into the different grooves. You can see them here. And that's based on the weight and the age of your baby. So you typically start down here, so there's a lot less give, and then you'll kind of lax it as the baby gains weight.
And also note that even if your baby is born on the bigger side, depending on how chunky their legs are, even if you fit it for the lowest level with the hack, and we can always do a hack video in another segment, but depending on how chunky your baby's legs are, when it's actually folded, there might still be a bit of leakage. Luckily for us, we didn't really experience any of that when we had transitioned from disposables to reusables. And Sean can speak more to why we started off with disposables.
Yeah, so typically when you start off, they recommend using disposable diapers, just because a lot of the modern technology has kind of a pee line along it that changes colors as a baby urinates. And that's important because in the early days of having given birth to a child, midwives, OBGYNs, family doctors are looking for number of urinations that a baby is going through in a given day, or a number of poos or what have you. And as newborn parents, you have no idea when they've peed, right? So these diapers really help that. So you know that they're kind of peeing enough and gaining enough weight, so these kind of basic milestones are being achieved, which is very important in kind of the first weeks. And then the last point just to mention on that topic is when to actually transition over the baby from disposable diapers to reusable diapers. Depends on when your OBGYN, your midwife, etc. kind of makes these recommendations. Ezra was born a hefty baby, and he was able to regain up to his birth weight in about a week. And so we were able to transition him over to reusable diapers at that time, and haven't looked back since, frankly, because it's just been incredible for us.
How do you really clean cloth diapers? Again, Sean does all of the laundry.
It's pretty straightforward, honestly. There are 2 loads that you'll do. The first load is a pre-wash, and essentially you're just putting in the diapers with the liners. You can keep everything intact. A quick hot rinse to get rid of pee and poo and that kind of stuff. Number 2 is a more thorough rinse. Hot water, a regular rinse cycle, and you add detergent. What I like to do is separate the liner from the padding.
But you said it comes out naturally.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So if it doesn't, just make sure that everything is separated. We have a wet pail that we keep all of our diapers in. I'll kind of bring that inside out, put that in, bring everything into that at the exact same time. It takes about a half hour, 45 minutes. And then finally, after it's been completely washed, you leave everything to dry. And I typically will air dry everything. We were talking before a little bit about the liners. Some of them actually don't dry quite as well. For example, the microfibers. Some of them might require a dry cycle if you put it into a dryer.
I know when a lot of people have asked us, oh, well, isn't there a smell? So is there a smell?
It's really not that bad, honestly. We have a diaper pail, for example, that kind of keeps the stenches to itself. It also doesn't smell that bad to begin with. We've found a bit of a hack to have dryer sheets that we've added that kind of deodorize a little bit. But if you walk into his room, you don't smell it. If you open it up after a long day, there is a bit of a smell. But typically what I'm doing is I'm bringing that diaper pail into the wash. So no problem.
I also want to show that the diapers itself, after a cleaning, they do stay pretty white. Some of them do look more dirty, and you can always put them in the sun so that you can sun bleach them, which we found very effective. But now it's wintertime and like we're not really doing that, and we don't really care. But they are clean. Like you smell it, and it is clean. Yeah. And then you can see the liners itself are still pretty clean. What do you do with the poop?
Yeah, so because Ezra is still just predominantly eating breast milk, then we don't need to actually scrape off the poo into the toilet beforehand. You just leave it in the diaper overnight. The next morning when I do a laundry load, when I'll do a load, and again, you have rinse 1, which is where you'll kind of do a pre-wash, and that typically will remove any of the kind of seedy or mustardy poop. And then rinse 2, that is already gone and some of the staining is left over, but now you're actually cleaning the diaper itself. So no issues at all, and it's been pretty straightforward, honestly.
Typically, though, when you do need to start scraping the poop into the toilet is when they start solids. Ezra is just starting solids, and we'll probably update the blog post when we get to that point. But right now, like Sean said, there is no issue. We just throw it into the laundry machine for the wash, but we will cross the solid poop when we get there. Question number 8. Do they leak?
Yeah, so this is kind of something that I was concerned with initially, and it's sort of something that you have to figure out on your own in terms of how frequently you need to change your baby's diaper. We've found the most effective way to do it is after Ezra wakes up from his nap. He has about 4 or 5 naps a day now. I let Jess feed him, and then I'll immediately change him. And I've found that in that time, he will have peed once or twice. He hasn't leaked. So that hasn't been an issue for us. Sometimes overnight, if we found that it's gone about 6 hours without changing him, the next morning there is a bit of a leakage. But that's more negligence on my end than it is the actual technology of the diapers. So overwhelmingly, I would say there's no leakage issues if there isn't neglect on my end in terms of changing Ezra regularly.
Do also note that if you're still in the newborn stage and if your baby likes to side sleep, then there might be leakage. But luckily, Ezra didn't really move much when he was a newborn, and if there was any leakage, it was contained within the swaddle. But now because he's not swaddled anymore, it's more obvious if there is leakage, and luckily, like Sean said, there hasn't been any.
Yeah, so to that point, there are different positions where a baby is more prone to leaking. On their side or on their stomach are typically, from what we've found with Ezra, more prone to leakage. But on his back, which is, 80% of the time that he's kind of engaged or interacting, we haven't had any issues with that.
Question number 9, and this is the last question that we had, was how do we maintain using cloth diapers when we're not at home?
This comes down to personal choice. Some parents like to use disposable diapers. Some people like to keep using reusable diapers when they're out of the house. We've found that by keeping a travel-sized wet bag with 2, 3 reusable diapers is more than enough. It's really just a question of finding the time to make sure that you're doing it while you travel, because it's easy to not keep track of these types of things.
I'll list all of the links to the products that we had purchased for cloth diapering, and hopefully you found this useful. Future us, hopefully we still find this useful for when we're diapering future babies. And friends and family, I hope you guys are inspired to try out cloth diapering, because honestly, if we're able to do it, and I'm saying if Sean's able to do it, then I'm sure there's no issue for you guys to not be able to do it as well. Thanks for watching. Now set forth and be savvy.